Hello and welcome, Star Wars fans, to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, a show where we debate takes so hot that they'd melt a planet with twin suns. My name is Brody, and I'll be hosting this episode with my co-hosts Amanda and Christian as we attempt to discover what story is truly the best from a galaxy far, far away. On this week's episode, we're going to be discussing ranks and hot takes from the Mandalorian Season 1, Chapter 7, The Reckoning. By the end of this episode, we'll have a definitive answer on where this piece of Star Wars content ranks amongst the rest. We're all back in the same room again.
Yay!
Yes.
It's been 2 weeks, 3 weeks since we've all been in the same place.
Maybe.
2 weeks ago
Yeah.
to
No, it
the
was like-
day.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago.
Was it?
Yeah, because Amanda was gone last week, and she was virtual, and the week before that,
I was gone.
Oh, I was counting
gone.
virtual as we
Oh,
were
yeah.
together.
yeah, in spirit. But today we're all in the same
yeah.
room.
In studio. Pay up, mud scuffers.
What?
I was just quoting Cara Dune from this episode.
I was gonna say I've never heard that term before, but that's a lie.
It is a lie.
I've watched this episode.
That could have been the trivia question.
Ah.
No, I would have. I wrote the question.
That's
so.
true.
Amanda, what was this episode all about?
So, Chapter 7, The Reckoning. Grief Karga reaches out to the Mandalorian to squash their beef and take out their common enemy, the client, by baiting him with the child.
I like you said squash there.
Squash their beef, man.
I
How
just
else
liked
would you
it.
call? Like, what else would you say?
In Star Wars, you squash.
You gotta
their
squash
beef,
some
man.
beef.
Oh,
That was great.
this episode was fun.
It
yeah,
was
it's the
good.
penultimate of the season.
You think so? There's no Bill Burr.
No, penultimate means it's the second to the last.
Yeah.
Okay.
In sequence.
If my math serves me correctly, and it usually does.
I like how I automatically assumed I
meant
knew.
like, yeah,
I didn't question anything. It's like I know exactly what you're talking about, and you're wrong.
straight face.
I mean, it's good to be critical of things, but that
Yeah.
one, I think that's a given.
Yeah, I was like, that's not a hot take. It's really what it is.
Number 7.
I completely disagree with that. Actually, there's
yeah,
no Bill
so there
Burr.
were 7 of 8, and there is no Bill Burr. All of those things are true.
I'll be honest. I thought it was a great episode.
Yeah.
Like, I really enjoyed this one. For the melding of all the characters that they put in the one episode
Yeah.
and all the dialogue. Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like this has twice as many words in dialogue as a normal episode of The Mandalorian. But I didn't.
That's a
up
good
that.
point.
I didn't look up that fun fact, but I was like, man, they're talking a lot, but it's really good dialogue. I thought best dialogue thus far.
That's a great observation.
No. We were talking about it before the show. There were a lot of moments where people were like, I'm not get carried away. It's like, I'm not bought in to help you. The guys we're fighting are Imperial. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah, I said that. I gave that as a critique a couple weeks ago, I think, where I was like, it just isn't totally believable at some points where it's like, okay, Grief Karga reaches out and is like, hey, you know what? I know you've been away and I know you like don't want to go too far.
Yeah.
So why don't we team up and you use that kid as bait?
Yeah.
And like Mando doesn't see any red flags with that. Like, duh. He's just like, okay.
Yeah.
It even looks like a red flag to the audience at the
Yeah.
beginning. You're like,
And then Cara Dune's like, no way, I would never go back. And then he's like, we need your help. And he's like, okay.
it's the
Amanda's-
lousy
And then-
imps.
And
All
then
right,
Grief
I'm in.
Karga is like, hey, I was gonna ambush you and double cross you, but now I'm on your team. And they're like, okay.
You should
That's
trust
cool.
me because I gunned down those guys
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
in front of your face.
What was it? What's the Quill? He's over here telling Quill, he's like, I don't want to see that IG unit. He's a killer. He's terrible. I get him on my
It's in
face.
his nature.
He's in his nature. Quill says like a nice little line of dialogue, and Mando's like, all right, I guess. You can say
Yeah.
that." Whoa. you changed-
Okay,
changed your
yeah.
stance real quick.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it
it's a
raises
short
good
episode.
point on droids.
It's a short episode.
We didn't have time to watch them go through the entire arc to change their opinion.
Yeah, they're like,
We
just
just had to
trust
keep
us.
going.
Yeah.
These guys are all easily swayed. It's fine. What did he say, Christian, about droids?
I
as well.
typed the quote because I thought it was
Something about they're
great.
not good, they're not evil.
He said, droids are not good or bad. They are neutral reflections of those who imprint them.
Oh, so they're not
Ooh.
sentient, which means they don't deserve rights. Thank you, Quill.
They're neutral reflections.
Yeah.
They're machines.
Well, that's like dogs. Dogs are neutral, and they
I
were
don't
reflected by
know.
their owner, right?
I don't know about 100% of the time though.
Not complete
That's
reflections,
you can't.
but that's a living thing.
Yeah, like it's
Droid is just machine. It's just wires and buttons and parts put together. And when Mando said it's in his nature to kill, it's like, no, that thing doesn't have a nature. It's a bunch of parts assembled.
It could totally be
It's
reprogrammed.
a bunch of. It has as much nature as that chair has as much destructive nature of killing you.
you know my nightmares.
Yeah, but
now.
you could still say that it's a killing machine.
If it's designed, by a killer.
But it doesn't deserve to vote for the next chancellor.
But like a gun is also a machine.
Oh, here we go. We're getting into some real
Guns
political
themselves have
territory.
no inherent rights.
But they are
the users,
violent.
They are violent. The users of guns have rights. So maybe we should be talking about the creators and
Are we
users
talking
of
about
droids.
shields?
Yeah.
We could talk about shields too.
Yes, but droids themselves do not deserve rights. Now that we know, based on Quill and the lore, if we ever hear that ever again, we'll kindly tell people you're wrong, and, and cite this episode because we do the research here at Duel of the Ranks.
Well, did anyone think it was odd they gave so much time to like his story of nursing IG back to life?
Yeah, it was
Like-
kind of like his baby.
Like I liked it and it was really cool. And Quill drops a lot of cool knowledge for the lore and the immersive universe. That's why I scored the immersive universe at 4.5. He says a lot of cool things amidst other people saying cool things, but Quill mentioned like the New Republic charter and how he got kind of permission to take ownership of this thing. But I did notice it the second time around watching it. I was like, wow, they spent a lot of time on this whole thing. I guess it was really important. I don't know.
Yeah, that is a good point because I know that. Well, Quill knows at the beginning that he doesn't trust droids too, right? So
Knows that Mando doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was like, he couldn't have known that Mando was going to come back and like need their
Yeah.
help, but
I thought it was a good, like, kind of educational pull for like swaying Mando to the coming around. To,
Yeah.
like, hey man, it's just a machine.
if you
like,
trust
don't get-
me, I built this.
Yeah, you don't have to hate this thing, man.
Speaking of Quill, like I am very satisfied in how he died and the fact that he died because it's one of those things that like I'm sure fans will be like, "You're terrible for thinking Quill deserved to die," and I'm like, "It's not that he deserved death. That's what makes his death impactful. He deserved life, but killing him
Oh.
at this time really raises the stakes."
Yeah, it was a good death.
And he had a good arc. And even in the end, it showed like he taught Mando a really valuable lesson about droids and
Mhm.
giving things second chances and, opening up your mind a little bit and having basically. So there was a lot of value in his character and it reached its end. And I'm glad the writers committed to killing him in that fashion because, as I said, he didn't deserve to die. But who does deserve to die is Jason Sudeikis's character and the other stormtrooper who hit Baby Yoda.
Mm,
Those guys who punched Baby Yoda twice.
But that wasn't this.
that wasn't
episode.
this episode.
I must have watched 2 episodes back to back.
I was like, I think that's
this
next
episode is so good. You want to just roll right into the next
I
one?
think I did that. I think I was like working or something, and like it just said play next episode and just kept
play
going.
it.
So I'm probably gonna have more takes from the next episode. I'm just letting you know they're gonna get dropped.
There's a little teaser for you for next week.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even know Jason Sudeikis was in it. so-
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of people
Mr.
don't
Ted
know.
Lasso.
Yeah.
yeah, crazy. I haven't seen that either.
Ah, you should.
Yeah, what do you do? Anyway, I don't even know what happens in this episode. Then I mean, besides
She gave
the
a
fact-
good summary. They're quashing their beef.
We also
man.
get Moff Gideon
Yeah.
introduced.
You
this-
have something I want.
Yes. Who, like, what a fantastic villain. Aren't we just so blessed that Giancarlo Esposito has been introduced into the Star Wars
Really
Los
universe?
Pollos Hermanos.
Really
Yes.
awesome. It was menacing. I loved like his whole entourage of coming out. I remember watching for the first time. I was like, holy crap, Death Troopers. Yes, from Rogue One. And like just seeing them again, seeing the shuttles of stormtroopers. Like they kept saying like 4 stormtroopers. 4, really? But yeah, it was just, I think that whole build-up, I thought that was just done really well as setting up for this good cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I really don't have a whole lot to say about this episode. I gave it an 87.2%
Really?
overall.
That's so high. That's
highest
the
of the group.
highest, and you're just like,
You don't
"Nah."
have a lot to say.
Like, there's not really a lot to critique. It was really good.
It was really good.
Yeah.
I loved seeing Cara Dune whoop some ass.
That was cool.
That was like super cool choreo.
yeah. Using her skill set.
Yeah, she like beasted someone that was obviously stronger than her, and I loved seeing the tethering.
Yeah, the electronic tether.
Yeah, that's a cool.
Very cool.
And then they were able to tap themselves out. I
Yeah.
was like, that's neat.
I was like, that's a great concept. Great for the immersive universe
Yeah.
score. Up
Yeah.
that up.
Yep.
Yeah.
They have another interesting thing. What's his face? The old Nazi
client?
guy, the client. What's his name?
I don't know.
I think
He's
we
just
just
the
call him
client.
the client.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I don't remember his character's name, but he his dialogue
Yeah.
about wanting to how like he doesn't understand why people didn't want order and peace and everything else, which is funny because that same order is what leads to his demise in this episode by blindly following that.
Yep.
Mhm.
Which they show that pretty quickly. But it was just interesting. And, they do reflect on, okay, like a lot of these guys weren't like the emperor. They didn't just seek power. And, they wanted to scale like their careers and everything. Like some of them just maybe came from a background where it was, maybe they lived in poverty and there were a lot of struggles for numerous reasons. And the empire offered stability and jobs and resources. And from his perspective, he's like, why wouldn't people want that? Like, I just don't get it. And he
Mhm.
himself doesn't seem innately evil
Yeah.
or inherently evil. He just seems like,
At least in that point of view. Like
Yeah,
he's not
yeah.
like, I just want to make people suffer.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some gray area. There's some nuance. It was a good speech. And you're like, yeah, I can see why you can have a whole, half the galaxy of people buying into something like that. It's
Yeah.
dangerous.
Mhm.
But that was a speech, He's
Yep.
going off of certain metrics that he said himself. And it was like, wow. That was a good pitch, man.
Yeah.
Pow.
it was a
He
good
gets
pitch.
shot.
Good pitch for fascism.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not
He would have
sold.
had Anakin Skywalker on his team for sure.
That's all it would have taken.
Yeah.
That one conversation.
He's like, yeah, sign me up.
It's funny though.
Okay, when I was watching this episode, I was thinking I've listened to The Friendship Onion, which
Oh,
actually
yeah.
Brody introduced me to first, which is
Which I introduced Brody to.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we're all friends of Lord of the Rings here. And they were talking about how since it's a PG-13 movie, you get like one F-bomb a movie. And in certain in a series, you can also get one F-bomb in a series. And when I was watching this episode, it hit me the most obvious point that I would write it in.
Where?
So when they are all camping out, rehashing the plan for the next day, they get swooped in by this dragon, right? Mr. Dragon Shirt over here.
Yeah. Freaking love dragons.
Yeah. And Grief Karga gets all like bit up or like the saliva's like eating at him, and little baby Yoda walks over and he's like, he's gonna eat me, which was funny in itself.
Yeah.
And then you watch him slowly start to heal Grief Karga, and everyone just like sits back and watches. And I wanted Grief Karga to be like, what the fuck? Like, what?
Line
Or
out
are
of
we
Predator.
just going to like
Line out of Predator.
Let's just
Yeah.
gloss over that.
Yeah.
Just edit
Like
that
no
in.
one's gonna like question
Yeah.
this man, this baby.
Also, I feel like another point would have been when like Cara Dune was getting like some very serious choking action going on there. But another appropriate moment
Yeah.
in the episode for someone to be like, what did she's like, he tried to kill me. Which I'm like, maybe you would say that,
Yeah.
but more likely
Yeah.
that's like some
I want to see that
explicit-
edited in because
Yeah.
it's such a quiet moment where they're all like so perfectly
yeah.
captured.
and just drop that.
Yeah.
I want to see them edit Baby Yoda healing Grief Karga. And he just looks at him, and then they voice in Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he's like, What's the matter? The CIA have you pushing too many pencils from Predator.
Nice. Get to the choppers.
Get to the
Go.
chopper.
Go.
Dylan, you
So
son of a-
random.
I love it. But
Dylan.
speaking of, I mean, who doesn't love Carl Weathers?
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Predator? However, in this episode, I do remember when they introduced the whole healing thing in this. This was right before the Rise of Skywalker premiere.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I remember they like showed this, and then I watched Rise of Skywalker in theater, and it was like, oh, cool. Like that was the tie-in, because I remember there was rumor or something. You should watch this episode of Mandalorian before you go see the Rise of Skywalker.
Oh.
And I was like, they're two different things, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And they were like, this is all online stuff. Like,
Yeah.
just watch it. That was, I think, the major connection
That was
people talk
cool.
about.
How did you feel about seeing Force healing for the first time?
I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
I was like, dang, who is this Baby Yoda thing?
Yeah.
You know, like there is more to
Pretty
you than meets
powerful,
the eye.
yeah.
Very powerful.
I had an expanded universe book as a kid that featured, wasn't Boris Offee. Maybe it was. I don't know. But it was someone who looks similar to her on the cover, and they have Jedi healing. I remember as a kid, I was just like, whoa, like that's cool. And I never read the book. And then you got to like see it there. And so for me, that was the first time actually knowing it was a thing. I thought that was cool.
It was very telling too, like force healing and force choking. And I think like
Yeah.
force choking we'd only seen from Vader and Luke.
Okay, and why didn't anybody come after freaking Baby Yoda as being a Mary Sue then? Huh?
Huh?
Well, he is 50.
Well,
But he has had how much training?
Like 45 years.
We don't know that.
I probably though. Maybe not 45. Hold on, not 45. Like if he's 50 now, let's think about this. When did the Jedi Order fall? This is 5 years after Empire. And
Someone did the math and said that
5 years after
Baby Yoda
Return of
was
the
born
Jedi.
the same
Yeah,
year
so-
that Anakin was born.
he was what?
Born the same year that Anakin was born.
Okay. Well, I mean, you can also just go off of like Luke's age too. What do you think he was in Return of the Jedi? Like 25? So he might have gotten like Baby Yoda might have got like 20, 25 years of training. Whereas Rey got like,
But who is his master
yeah,
Mm,
I don't know.
and the teacher?
Still a lot of questions.
I don't know. But
I feel like it's not going to be an interesting answer.
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying the ride.
we like
Yeah.
asking questions.
We like asking questions, but
and we
I'm not.
don't like getting them answered.
I
as
don't-
Star Wars fans.
Yeah, we don't like getting them answered. Typically, one, you're not going to meet everybody's expectations, and two, I've kind of settled that most Star Wars just isn't that good of writing. So, like, I don't think they're going to do a good job.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to put a bow on that very well. Early hot take. Sorry, listeners. I enjoy Star Wars, but I'm not expecting it to change what
it
we
should
know.
blow your mind, Brody.
It should always blow my mind. Well, Kenobi didn't.
Mm,
Season 2 of Mando had some fun stuff, but even still. But season 1 of Mando, it's a good
Solid.
good time. They're doing a really
Yeah.
they were doing a
Solid.
really good thing with what they had there. I think there's hope for Star Wars, but to me it seems like Star Wars, I don't know if it'll ever be that great again. And one of the reasons I have for thinking that is like a lot of the people who are writing Star Wars like literature now and these stories and everything, they're people who grew up watching Star Wars. Okay, it's not people who were inspired. I mean, yes, I'm sure they're inspired by other works, but a lot of this inspiration stems from their childhood and things they know and love. So they're just building on top of other stories and other things. And Kenobi's a great example. If you replace Kenobi with someone else, a lot more people, I'm sure, would have thought that was just a boring story if you replace Vader and Kenobi. So I don't know. I will be interested to see if they end up going a new direction that have inspirations outside of the Star Wars universe to really bring it new life. But yeah, that's my early unofficial hot
Early.
take as to why Star Wars is having a hard time writing any decent stories that are original.
hmm.
I dropped a lot.
You did.
No, I hear what you're saying, because there are a lot of great fan stories and fan theories, and even in books and novels and so many other genres of Star Wars storytelling, that it's hard to compete when it comes to like an actual medium that's being presented to the audience to consume. And Disney's found that out the hard way. It's impossible to make something that everybody is happy with.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it always has been, but it's just even louder now. So
Yeah.
it's
But people
it's
like this,
just,
they appreciated this season because it was so original
yeah,
in its own regard. There was enough familiarity while doing its own thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that's
It
what
really
I'm
knocked it out.
and that's what I'm saying, to praise this, not knock this, to praise what they did with Mandalorian for this first season. Did not go that route with season 2.
Mhm.
But season 1, yeah, it was a huge breath of fresh air. Imagine the fans, like, this is like they're coming off of this, and I'm trying to remember what I was thinking, but everyone loved Mando and was at a high, which it was really needed, because people like the previous year or whatever were so upset with uh what was it, The Last Jedi, and then they watch this, they love it again, and then they go and see Rise of Skywalker, just the roller coaster that so many people must have gone through. It's like,
It was a wild ride.
how do I feel about Star Wars? Like, I don't know, man. People just kind of lumped up that the sequels are terrible. But I'm
And
gathering.
I know that history will be much kinder to the sequels in time.
You think so? Because
I do.
I don't think so.
I do think so. I
'Cause-
think because there's going to be more media put out that adds even more context
That
to
is fair, though.
storytelling.
That is fair. I was thinking more like when we were kids, we loved it because we had the merchandise sales were high, video games were high, whereas sequel merchandise did not sell. It didn't sell
Yeah.
well at all.
I feel like they, like, across the board, since the sequels, there hasn't been much merchandise focus. And actually, you know who would be good for this conversation is Hyperspace Heroes.
Hmm.
They are.
But it seems like they
Excellent
always, I think I brought
merchandise.
this up on an earlier episode. It seems like they come out with toys after the episodes are out, so they don't have to reveal kind of the secrets of the movie or the
Yeah, 'cause
show.
no one wants to see it.
But then they don't, like, of course you're not going to get great merchandise sales when it's released after it's been published, you know.
But the
Maybe.
prequels
They
Maybe.
did
were-
with the prequels.
The prequels did well, though. I don't know. It just seems like the buy-in from the whatever follows Gen Z. I don't know what that generation is. The COVID kids. It wasn't high. From like whatever merchandise sales were at that time. So
Yeah, it looks like Disney's expecting you to spend less on merchandise and more on the excursion or the vacation
Yeah,
experience.
yeah, they put it all into
All
they put
into
it
it.
all in the bantha milk.
Yeah, I know. But even the video games, it didn't seem like, and that's the other thing. Like people, like, I don't know how. Besides Jedi Fallen Order, the video games have all pretty much flopped for a lot
Yeah.
of fans. Like even
And then they
Battlefront
even
2.
dropped another one, right? One of the newer ones got dropped.
Or postponed indefinitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what was that one? The Eclipse.
I think so.
That had an epic
Mhm.
trailer too.
Yeah. But speaking of video games,
Oh.
how about this episode with? I'm just trying to.
I would
Let's
love
see.
for you to one day like long form take it into a transition.
I might do that one day.
Just like speaking of video games, just go like for a 3-minute rant.
We get into gene modification. There's mention of strand casting, and Quill says some very interesting things in this episode.
Do we have anything else to say about this episode? I mean, we ranked it at an
No.
80.07% overall.
That's really high.
Christian, yeah, you gave it an 82. Amanda, you gave it a 71. So
I brought it down
What-
a little bit, but
A lot of
I still liked it. Like, it's still a 3.5 is like good on a lot of things.
What was the lowest scoring category?
it looks like it was, wow,
The
music.
What? Why?
Oh, your boy LG.
You know what? I actually did really like the music this episode. I gave it a 3.5 because, like,
You gave it a 4. Oh no, you did.
it did what needed to be done. But also, it's getting to that point in the series where now you're familiar with the score enough, and like you're getting the real robust version of the theme as like they walk into the town and it's starting to really feel familiar and part of the experience.
I did, and we didn't give the music a bad score. It was a good score. It's just lower than all the other categories we're praising. But I did enjoy the intro of this episode where it wasn't that that standard tribalistic that he uses. It was more like trumpets, loud tuba or something. That resonated with me. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But the highest scoring category was the immersive universe.
Yeah.
Which again, I think plays into all the different characters that we got, all the different dialogue that we got. And
you're watching them problem solve together too.
Yeah.
And
we get death troopers, more stormtroopers.
Yep.
Anyone else think it was funny when they're like, they just kept telling Cara Dune, like, hey, you need to cover your tats. Like, cover those up. Put a band on that.
And we also got my favorite line. I would like to see the baby.
Oh.
Yes.
What was it? He's sleeping.
We will be quiet.
All right. I like that he was the first one to not like just be a pushover this episode. Be like, I'm not gonna do this. And they're like, he's sleeping. No, I still want to see him.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, all right.
We will be
like,
quiet.
Yeah.
We will be quiet.
And I was like, that's actually a reasonable response.
Yeah, I know. I was like, well, you can't deny the man.
Maybe that guy had kids before.
Maybe this guy isn't a bad stepfather after all.
There you go. There you go. With all that to be said, that puts this episode at an 80.07%. So I think it's time for some hot takes. Lord Vader, bring us in.
Don't be too proud of this podcast you've constructed. The ability to rank content is insignificant next to the power of an exceptional hot take.
It is hot takes time. All right, and it looks like Amanda, you have the first hot take of the day.
Yes, I finally have a hot take. Okay, this episode we kind of learned that, I mean, we've seen Baby Yoda eat frogs before, but it is specifically pointed out that he is a carnivore this episode, which is why why Grief Karga is like, he's gonna eat me.
Yeah.
And we also watch him force choke Cara Dune, who had already proven her immense strength, right before that, because Baby Yoda thought that the Mandalorian was in danger. It's kind of a prediction, but I think it's kind of a hot take. I think Baby Yoda is going to turn down the path of the dark side. I think he
turned down to the path of the dark side.
Yeah. I think he maybe has some like connection to the dark side that he's been tapping into, and I like the idea that he is not a totally good character. Like, that's also what I really loved about the sequels, is that there was this pull on Rey in her dark and light, and Kylo on his dark and light. And so I like the idea of Grogu also struggling with that.
Yeah.
I also just loved his face in that moment, like a little cute baby demon.
He's like, don't you dare! Like baby 11.
Yeah.
Like, look at me, Dad. Am I doing good?
Not my dad.
All right. No,
I like that.
Yeah, I'll back.
Because wouldn't it be really cute to have like the Sith need like a really cute role model?
Yeah, like a poster
like a
child.
tiny little.
Oh, so you think he's
Baby
gonna go
Yoda
full
Sith
on
Lord.
Sith?
I think that'd be dope.
Dope.
I don't
he's
know.
gonna quash the Jedi's.
I'd rather
beef.
him be gray.
I know what you mean, and I don't want to talk about too much that goes into season 2, but yeah, I would like to see him go an unexpected route. I'm always rooting for the unexpected route. That's why I'm always rooting for someone to die or
unpredictable.
Yeah. Unpredictable. Yeah.
Subversion.
Is it a hot take?
I
think so.
If you believe he's going to become a Sith,
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so.
I don't think he's going to be. I don't know though. You know
what?
That would be interesting.
I never
writing.
thought he would, but I kind of want to see it.
That would be awesome though. Like, take this character we all love, and
And
then
they
make him
make you hate him.
Yeah.
Like how hard it is to love something so cute.
Like Anakin and Phantom Menace,
Ex-
and just the whole portray. Well, we knew that was happening.
But yeah, but I don't think I just can't see him doing that to like America's baby now.
It's hard to
Yeah.
do that.
Or the world.
You've
But what
made a
if,
lot of
like,
money off that
Picture it
Yeah.
like
Little money.
Moff Gideon strikes down Mando, kills him, and Grogu sees it and just goes full Avatar mode, like bright shining light, like
Full-on
melts everything around him.
implosion.
Yeah, like just dips into the dark side, becomes the next like Sith ruler.
I also just can't see it because like
Thumbs up. Let's do it.
Thanks.
thinking about it's basically the antithesis of Yoda, which would be really interesting. I don't know. I mean, at one point I'm like, are people going to really take this little green thing that scary and serious? But we took Yoda as seriously.
True.
So
Not at first though. I mean, in Empire, he's comedic relief, but then he turns to this, wise mentor,
do or do not.
So yeah, let's see it. Let's see it happen.
All right.
Thumbs up.
I'll upvote that.
Yay!
All right.
All right. I did not think I was gonna upvote that.
Wow.
but
I feel
You sold it.
invigorated.
You
Thank
sold
you.
me. You
Surprise.
sold me.
We got
you
it.
sold me. All right. So I said this earlier and I alluded to it, but I do think overall, as a whole, Star Wars writing is poorer today, as many writers grew up as fans of the show. I do think Disney
Hmm.
is giving writers a specific like box to play in, right? And then it can be constricting. Don't get me wrong, but I think as well you're doing that. You're working to please fans and protect an IP. I think that's another thing. But I think if you grew up loving what you knew Star Wars to be, I think in a lot of ways that can hurt it. Whereas like George Lucas had all these inspirations from Flash Gordon and everything else, and you look at people like J.R.R. Tolkien who had an insane amount of inspiration. I mean, he knew fluently 32 languages before really building Middle Earth. And so there was so many inspirations with Beowulf and other stuff, as well as his own life when he went into the trenches in World War One. And so you see that, and it's almost like we're more just creating new things based on what's already been done, not so much original content. And again, you're seeing that with all the animated shows and everything else. There are some new ish interesting things. Like I do think there's some stuff that's done well, like Ahsoka and like in this first season Mandalorian. But as a whole, most of Star Wars is just not good writing for that reason. So, and I do put Obi-Wan in that camp. So love to see writers take some real world experiences, even from their own lives, and tell an original story. So
Wow.
You're
That's my
talking more so on screenwriters than like book writers.
yeah, I've only read one Star Wars book, so that's not very fair. And I'm not going to call it out because unless you already listened to the show. But anyway, wasn't the biggest fan. But I
see what you're
hate,
saying.
No hate.
No, I think it gets back to what you've said when we were ranking the Bad Batch, and you're like, Star Wars is like McDonald's. I mean, Star
But it
Wars
doesn't
is
have to be.
no, it's more pop culture. It's not as critically acclaimed now as like it was for what it was doing, pushing boundaries in cinema. It's or in terms of other sci-fi like Blade Runner now or what, I don't know. I can see where we're trying to adhere more to the brand, the IP, and it's not going to be as original because we're under this Star Wars umbrella. But that's a lot of it could, and I mean, I think that's what makes like the Andor series exciting, because that's a kind of it's portrayed as a different, fresh way of telling a story, or a different period to explore, a different perspective to explore, I should say.
When they do that, when they tell these types of stories, you don't typically, unless you're someone who avidly loves Star Wars, you've checked it all out. And there's plenty of people who are, no knock on people who love it like that, but you're typically not connecting with, like, on the average audience isn't connecting like with this Obi-Wan series. A lot of people loved it, especially if you grew up watching it, but newer audiences, there wasn't as much to connect to. You're kind of like, okay, like I get there's beef between these guys, and I know they want to squash it, but or Obi-Wan wants to squash whatever's going on, but like I don't know. I just feel like there's not as much that really connects. You feel more of that in like Rogue One, where you're like, oh, okay, I get that motive, or I understand this. I can relate to this character. You feel more of that, but a lot of Star Wars doesn't have that post Return of the Jedi.
No, I disagree with your take because Star Wars writing, even when it was in the hands of George Lucas, was never that good to begin with.
Whoa.
Prequels?
Yeah,
Script?
so I wouldn't say that like anything coming out now in any of these storylines is any like worse quality than the actual writing on the page when it comes to the prequels.
Okay, the prequels,
So,
yeah, but like
but I
the
mean, like in general,
originals-
Star Wars is campy. It is you're saying that we want Star Wars to be more, but also we don't. We've very much so been like, no, Star Wars is this thing and it belongs in a world that looks like this,
Mhm.
and everyone is very hesitant to see it expand
but it's
beyond
cookie
that
cutter
bubble.
now. It's left the realm of creativity, even with being campy. It doesn't have to take itself seriously like Lord of the Rings.
I would.
I don't think it
I'm
is
gonna
taking
kinda-
itself seriously
Well,
like Lord of the Rings.
No,
And
I'm saying it doesn't
again-
have to do that, but it's cookie cutter. It's not creative in that regard.
I would say I'm kind of going back to what we were talking about with Force Awakens. Like I like the example of BB-8. I like that whole design, just the idea of BB-8, a design on an astromech droid, completely new and creative, innovative,
Mhm,
but it captures the exact spirit of the astromech droid that
mhm.
we've all come to love
Yeah.
so dearly. And I thought that was a triumph in terms of writing Star Wars. And I'm not talking about just the movie Force Awakens or the sequel trilogy, but I think there are nuggets like that that can still happen with Star Wars. Yeah, it's Star Wars became pop culture early on, so I think it's going to be hard to try to deviate into that critically acclaimed realm.
But some of it is like the video game. What was it? The Jedi Fallen Order
Mhm.
had a fantastic story,
Top notch.
and you're bought in, and you're like, well, I wasn't. I'm glad it was a video game because that was an amazing time.
Yeah.
But there's not many movie or TV show formats that you see in that digestible time frame that you're like, yeah, I'm bought into all of these characters and what's going on here. This is really good.
It's nuggets like that like there's some good writing, but
But could you
there's a
say
Star
that
Wars
Jedi
stamp to
Fallen
it.
Order would have been successful as a TV series? It's hard to say,
I'd
you
rather
know.
have it as its own movie for me than a TV series, like its own standoff. So like the people that aren't as powerful as Vader or Obi-Wan, and seeing it in that light from the panel. I mean, I don't know. I thought it was really, really cool, and seeing more from Order 66, I thought that was really cool. But no, I do think there's hope for Star Wars. I do think if they decide to go like thousands of years
Yeah,
before and go to
that's
like
what
the
they
High
really need to
Republic,
do.
yeah, so I do think there's hope, and that's why I'm saying like I don't want to just put this on the writers because they're all like fanboys. I also want to say they are playing in a very cookie cutter box.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of factors that kind of tie them behind their backs because we've seen what they're capable of when there's not the same amount of pressure with a big movie budget like Jedi Fallen Order. Wow, okay, you blew people away.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying they're inept and not capable of making a good story. I just think, all right, well, when your hands are tied, what do you go off of? Well, I guess just fandom.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
I'm still going to disagree with your take.
Christian.
I mean, you got me thinking about like other things with it. Maybe it's just the way you worded it, so I'll just go thumbs down for now. But I mean, I see what you're saying.
I find your lack of good taste disturbing.
Christian, I love you, man. You're always like, I disagree with you, but I hear you. All right. Well, looking at Christian's take, I really wish we had saved Amanda's for the end because Baby Yoda is what brings everyone together.
Yeah.
We're about to divide some people here.
We're gonna
So,
get you fired up.
Christian, you've got the hottest take since the show started. So,
I have to preface because this is, I mean, we've given it some time, but it's a hot button issue. So don't get all wrapped up into it, okay?
We're here to discuss
having
hot
fun
takes.
To discuss hot takes.
Yeah.
I'm saying Gina Carano should never have been fired.
Wow.
you clearly don't manage our Twitter.
So yeah, what do you think?
But hold on.
I've got to substantiate.
Please provide.
Substantiate my claim. Yes.
You can't just drop a bomb like.
So I honestly think if you dig into the issue for yourself, I encourage you to dig into the issue for yourself. Search anything online, talk to other people who disagree with you on this. Go on YouTube, find some things, really test it. But I think the whole context of everything leading up to this, she had a tweet comparing the situation, the political climate that we were in, and it was pretty clear and obvious that was like the nail in the coffin. But she was fired for.
And to be clear, it was about masking or not masking. It was about getting vaccinated versus the choice to be vaccinated.
That was in the climate it was in, but it was about rallying. It was about a government rallying up people to hate another people group. And in the example she used, it was not a good, I always am cautious. You don't advise people to use the example of Jews in Nazi Germany. Like, that's just
period.
You shouldn't do
Yikes.
Just avoid.
You just shouldn't do that.
Her poor PR team.
Yeah,
but,
I know, right? Yeah, whoa.
But like, when you read that tweet, you knew exactly what point she was trying to drive across. I think a lot of people took that advantage to twist it and then demonize her for something like that. And then she was clearly just fired because of her political beliefs. And yes, I'm all for Disney has the right to fire whoever they want, just like any other company does. So we're not advocating that either. But she shouldn't have been fired simply because she had an opinion on some hot button issues. Because if we live in a society like that, then we have a lot of other rules to apply to a whole lot of other people.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think you navigated that really well.
Oh, I thank you. My heart is beating.
I bet.
We're on live
It's
air.
a scary
We're
thing to
on
tell.
live
I
TV.
know, right?
But no, it is one thing that I encourage people to go look into it for yourself.
No, I'm glad that we get to talk about it. Yeah, like we were talking a little bit before the show, and it is this weird area because social media is a newer idea in terms of how it works with your employment and stuff like that. And what you say, you don't have to have a social media. Daisy Ridley just actually got back on Instagram, I think, for the first time. But when you are on social media, I guess it puts you on an uneven playing field, and maybe that isn't fair. But to counter your point, yes, don't ever compare anything to Nazis or Jews, especially if your family isn't from that tragedy.
Unless you're dealing with actual Nazis.
Yeah. Just I didn't like anyone being oh, well, Trump is Hitler. It's not the same thing. You can't we shouldn't be making those types of comparisons. But at the same time, consequences have actions. And that was the whole scenario about masking or not masking or vaccinating versus not vaccinating. I believe that you shouldn't be forced to do anything to your body, that you have full control over it, and you can decide to not mask and you can decide to not get vaccinated. But also businesses and other places in society are able to say you have to do that in order to come here. And that means that you have to deal with the consequences of those actions. So similarly, her making that type of statement, you can't really just roll that back. And her Twitter and social media feed were a lot of misinformation. And yes, it is heavily more on the right side, and we haven't seen it on the left side so much. So it's easier to pinpoint that imbalance. Um, but I am sad that Cara Dune is gone, and I really, really love that character.
So are you voting him down?
I am voting him down. Yeah, I'm voting him down.
Okay. Well, Christian, I'm going to vote you all the way up.
Oh, wow.
I'll tell you what, I totally agree with everyone. As someone who's done a lot of marketing in my time, that was not a wise thing to tweet. And if for anyone who's interacted or, been blocked by Gina Carano's Twitter or whatever,
I have.
yeah, you have. I don't know. I've got like, I'm not even active. I only have 16 followers, and I wouldn't be surprised if I'm blocked. Like, it's going around blocking everybody in this place. But no, as far as her acting chops are concerned, she's talented. As far as the character itself was an interesting character, so obviously that's unfortunate. We're not going to get that. She's also going to get her own show, and I really thought she did a really good job, like playing that strong female lead that people sometimes try to cast and it doesn't really go over well with fans. Well, people were bought in with her as a character. So no one's discussing that. Obviously, she should have had some form of counsel ages ago to say, hey,
Yeah.
we should vet your stuff. Like, because I think
Yeah.
what she was trying to say as a whole, as you just said, Amanda, I think a lot of people would agree with her
Yeah.
sentiment.
If she would have, just worded it a little more sensitively.
And as Christian also said, would not be surprised if she was somewhat difficult to work with. Based on what we've seen on Twitter, it's the fruits of, all right, you probably have very, very strong opinions and you're going to do things your way, this and that. And all right, I could see why some people would not find that person to be a team player. And maybe there were a lot of things in the background that we don't know about where they really tried working with her. And it just ultimately, it was just like, that might have been, as you said, the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
So I don't want to pin this too much against Disney when saying this. But since I don't know all of those facts, you could also go on the other side and say, yeah, Disney just blindsided her, where she did all these posts, no one said anything. And that, so you could make the exact same counter argument. So until those facts are known, yeah, I mean, I will err on the side of I wish the character was still around, and it would have been cool to see Disney offer some form of support to say it's one thing if she were to go out and say some really hateful things and calling like doing with like very specific people and going that route. But what she was trying to say as a whole wasn't, I don't think it airs in the side of being false for a lot of folks.
If anything, it was just ironic too that she was fired for that tweet. It was like they were kind of almost proving her point.
That's another.
Well, it's also weird that she plays an ex trooper and is like outed by her tattoo marks in this episode and told to hide it. And like how then the different factions of the Star Wars universe, like, it doesn't make sense that she would be a rebel but also tweeting about these similar things in some ways. But it sounds like you were getting at that you do think she should be fired.
Well, I can understand why Disney would fire her, and I will say I support Disney in that. Like, yeah, sorry, Gina, you work for a very left-leaning company. As far as at least the messages and stuff they put out, you put stuff right-leaning out. Yes, you are risking your job. That's that's capitalism.
I don't think it's even right-leaning though. Like,
it's very right. It's just, she's very conservative.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's not just the fact that she
Daily
had.
Wire after this.
No, but it's not the fact that she just had like a right-leaning viewpoint. It's that she went like extreme right with it.
I would beg to differ. I think that's where extreme and whatnot, like, sure, she said some outlandish things, but at the same time, a lot of a lot of people still resonated with what she was saying. And I think she was part of that movement, like raising flags, even to get back to your point about being a rebel, like standing up against authoritarian government that's trying to sway
Yeah.
people into that. So I think, again, that's how Disney is also proving her point. But then also to your point, Brody, I've heard the opposite of how most of the cast got along with her so well. And it was mostly like the Lucasfilm storyboard people. They had the problem. And this is all, hearsay
hearsay,
too.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm just a spectator,
Mhm.
fan of Star Wars here. But as a fan of Star Wars, we don't want to see actors and actresses axed just because they have an opinion on something.
Yeah.
And I think we should hold people like Lucasfilm and Disney to the fire on something like that, where it's like, you better have some good facts behind what you did or some good context to doing that, because you're not applying a lot of these rules to other actors in the Star Wars realm who
absolutely.
also have strong political opinions
Absolutely.
that, not all fans agree with. But it's fine for actors and actresses to have these opinions. I'm not saying people should be fired, but if you're going to apply that rule to Gina Carano, why don't you apply it to some other people in Star
And it's like,
Wars?
and that's the funniest thing, is because like celebrities all the time do dumb things because
all
we're
the time,
people,
and they should be able to, because
Right,
people
people are people.
should
People
have
are dumb and
second
make dumb
chances.
things.
When the pandemic started and all the celebrities did Imagine by
Yeah.
John Lennon, like none of them got fired from future projects, like and the characters weren't written out. But obviously, Hollywood is very left, and Gino,
Gino.
and Gina is very right. So yeah, now she works for the Daily Wire. Apparently, I don't know. She's up for. She did a movie with them. about
Terror on the
baseball.
Prairie.
Apparently, it's really good. So haven't seen it, but
Go
good
see
for
it.
her. She landed on her feet, got a job. Good old Ben Shapiro giving out jobs to people getting outed in Hollywood. So you say something left, go work for Ben. He's got a job for you. So with that said, you also get a Roger. Good job, Christian. That is not an easy.
I will
take
say
to
I
have.
would be happy to fill in Gina Carano's spot and play the role as Cara Dune.
Boom.
As someone who is like a 6 foot tall woman who, at an early age, my dad said that I looked too difficult to steal because I'm just like kind of built a little bit more. It was really cool to see another woman like with that type of presence
Yeah.
on screen and kick butt and be cool.
She'd
And
beat the
I
crap.
freaking love her and I want to be her. So let's start a petition to recast her as me.
Bring back the fighter.
Oof, I don't know if you want that smoke. From
I
all
don't
the
know.
f-
I'm not in shape. I get my butt soaked.
I was gonna say the fans who are just like, "How dare you recast her?"
I know, right?
Like, I was like, I don't know if I would want that role.
Uh,
Not that anyone's asking. Christian and I are 5'8", 5'9" selves.
I
Whatever.
just hit 6'2", man. What are you talking about?
We're the hobbits of the show,
Still
and that's
growing.
okay. That's okay.
Oh, before I forget, it just came to me. On the technical aspects of this episode, did anyone else notice the ship, the Razor Crest, when it was flying into space, the black backdrop with the stars? There was like a faint illuminated white circle around it. And it threw me off, and I had to rewind it. I was like, is this just some edit that was missed or something, or it's just very faint, or is it my TV? And for me, that moment is why I had to dock the TA just a little bit. Just a
Why?
little bit.
What was it? Was it just an error, you think?
It looks like it was a bad special effects, like that someone didn't catch.
Like missed a keyframe
Like
or
they
something?
missed it, that the circle around the Razor Crest had a lighter color of black around it. So it looked like there was like a little spotlight following the Razor Crest.
Oh,
Look out for
Wow.
it, people. Look out for it.
nice.
Now we know. Thanks, Christian. Ruining Star Wars for everyone. All right. Well, with that said, last segment of the show, Force Ghost Charlie.
This is the way to trivia time!
It is trivia time, and I have the question of the week.
Are we not
Now-
supposed to look at the screen?
Yeah, I mean, probably not. Now, I will say, Christian knows this, Amanda.
Uh-oh.
He said it twice
What?
in this
Uh-oh.
conversation
Uh-oh.
today. So if you don't know the answer, you are not listening to your co-host. So the question is, what elite form of stormtroopers make their first return since Rogue One? Is it A, the Dark Troopers, B, the Death Troopers, C, the Delta Troopers, or D, Demon Troopers?
Oh man, Demon Troopers does sound really
I'd
cool.
love to see
Some Demon Troopers.
Death Troopers.
Death Troopers?
Death Troopers.
It is Death Troopers.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
Hell
steal
yeah.
your thunder, bro.
No, I'm not rewriting another one on the spot. I'm like, he knows it. He knows it. Like, that's the
No,
question.
that's great.
So there you go. If Amanda would have said it too, I'm like, well, I guess this is a.
she would have known that.
Are the Dark Troopers the robot troopers from season 2 and like comics and stuff? What are Dark
Probably.
Troopers? I'm pretty sure Dark Troopers are a thing.
I should know this.
Yeah, Dark Troopers are a thing.
All right,
Demon Troopers. Let's see that.
Yeah.
some Demon Troopers.
That's where you're talking about evil nature.
Yeah, I feel like that's where you'll see that in like comics or something. All right. Well, that was deep. We got a lot deeper today than we
Yeah.
normally do.
Deep. Thanks for joining this ride with us.
That was a political. I mean, I'm glad we finally addressed it.
I know we had to.
Yeah, we were gonna address the Gina Carano issue when she first appeared, but Amanda was gone that
Yeah, it
week, and we
was.
were like, well, it can't just be.
Yeah.
It can't just be Christian and I
Yeah.
being like, yep, should
Yeah.
stuck around. Like, sorry, let's take advantage of the
Well, let's-
week. Amanda's gone.
Let's gloss over that one.
The whole
No,
show.
I'm glad
that
we
week.
got to. I'm glad we got to talk about it. It's something that definitely like you can't talk about the Mandalorian without
Yeah,
acknowledging.
Thanks a lot, Star Wars, for making us talk about it.
It's
Yeah.
so funny. Like Amanda's gone and Christian's like, hot take, Gina Carano shouldn't have been fired. But like, Roger, Roger. Keep moving on. Like, ignore it as a whole. Like, all right, there you go. Well, this was fun. Next week we're going to be talking about the season 1 finale of Mandalorian. So
Yeah.
be sure to listen in as we do that. I think we're going to follow up with some top 10 moments from season 1. And then we're going to talk about video games and then do some Andor stuff. And then finally Andor. So we've got
Yeah.
a lot of fun content coming up for all the folks who want to check out Duel of the Ranks. Amanda, where can they find us at?
You can find us at dueloftheranks.com. We have all of our previous episodes and all of our rankings for all of the movies and episodes that we've reviewed so far. And you can find us at Duel of the Ranks on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
Awesome. And
Boom.
Christian, where do you listen to us?
The website.
Very cool. I don't.
Oh, and don't forget to submit your own hot takes to us if
Definitely.
you, especially after this episode, maybe we'll hear some.
Some hot takes.
Yeah.
Get your hot takes.
So if they hit us up on Twitter, you'll be hitting up Christian. So if you agree or disagree with him, that's where you can find him. Amanda, where can they? What platforms are you checking that they can?
I check Twitter sometimes too, but I also am behind Instagram and TikTok.
And you're just gonna have to email us to get with me. I'm just the old one.
Yeah,
of the group.
head to the website. You can submit it there.
Yeah, and that's the only place
Should
you're
we-
gonna get with me. if
We
you-
got a fax number somewhere we can post.
That's too old for me.
I'll tweet that out.
We have a pager as well.
Yeah.
I have a
Hot
pager.
take incoming.
Morse code. We do receive that. So, all right, y'all. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Google us, find us on the web. We're everywhere. I mean, just
Like,
Page one.
subscribe,
Yeah.
give us 5
We do
stars.
appreciate it.
yeah. And we'll do more stuff on like YouTube and things. So be on the lookout for that. We'll get to it eventually. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Take care, y'all.